Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to show you why bladder snails make for the very best jar aquarium pets. Bladder snails are easy to care for, they're easy to feed, they are easy to breed, and they are fun to watch. So we're going to jump in, we're going to check out a few of the aquariums, and we're going to talk bladder snails. So yeah, let's go. So welcome back to the channel, guys. Thank you for inviting me. My name is Terry. This is Bucket Ponds. The channel is mostly about bladder snails, jar aquariums, and nano ponds that we build outdoors. But today we're talking about bladder snails. I love them. I am a bladder snail enthusiast, and it breaks my heart when I see people talking about squishing them or eliminating them from their aquariums. You know, these guys are beneficial. What they bring to the table is far more important than the small downsides that they might cause in your tank. Now, they will breed rapidly, and trust me, I know all about this. So if you're not ready for that, maybe, if you see bladder snails, don't feed your tank so much. Try not to overfeed, and that's very important because when you overfeed, you will trigger a breeding response, and they will, grow their population to meet the amount of food that they have available. But, guys, I think that these snails are the perfect aquarium pet, especially for young people, for kids. You could go out there in the aquarium hobby. People encourage you to buy, exotic, expensive species or fancy guppies and things that have very specific needs. They need a certain water temperature, they need certain foods, they need a certain type of pH parameter. Whereas bladder snails, they don't care. Bladder snails do not care. They can survive almost anything. Toxic water, hard water, very low oxygen. They don't care. They can breathe from the surface of the water, kind of like we do. They can come up, get some air from the above the water, and they are just so awesome to watch. You know. And again, as a for a young hobbyist, I would definitely suggest, man, get some bladder snails. Get that kid some bladder snails. Get them a nice jar. Let them watch a few videos. Help them set it up with or without plants. You can go either way. And once you really get rolling with your bladder snails, you'll see that they start to lay eggs and they start to have babies, and that is a whole other thing to learn about, to study, to learn about nature and the ways of life on Earth. But here at Bucket Ponds, we've taken things a step further. I've built several aquariums just for bladder snails, and I've applied several different ideas and different methods to manipulate their behavior to cause massive egg clusters like you see here. Now, you're not going to see this in your average bladder snail jar or aquarium. You'll see a few eggs here and there, and that's fine. But later in the video, I'll explain how you get these massive superclusters of eggs. And it is possible. It is not hard to do. It requires a little time and a little effort, but your snails will prosper. They will grow legion, and it's amazing. It's so much fun to watch. As a snail keeper, I can tell you there is one downside to bladder snails when you're raising them like this. They will gum up your filters. They will gum them up. This is the intake from my 35-gallon tank, the bow front aquarium, and it is completely covered in bladder snail eggs, live eggs, and a few bladder snails as well. And I think that's so cool. Like some people might say that looks nasty, but to me, that's life. That's all of my pets right there. The next generation. And when I see people talking about smashing the bladder snails or killing them, eliminating them from their aquariums, it breaks my heart. You know, how could you kill a little creature like this? Like, just look at the eggs. Okay, so this is an early egg sac, and maybe it looks kind of basic. It's a little dot inside of a little circle. Not much to look at, right? Nothing really important to most people. But after a week or two, when they start to develop, you get this little fully formed bladder snails. They're growing, they're developing their little shells inside their egg sac, and that is so cool to me. Like how could you hate these little creatures? They're amazing, and they just want to thrive. They just want to do well. They want to live and reproduce and repeat the cycle. And anyone who talks about smashing them, destroying the eggs, like that's so horrible. That's monstrous, you guys. You're gonna kill these poor innocent animals just so that you can have some fake ecosystem that would never exist on Earth anyway. No, no, it's not right. Now, I don't have the huge budget, the big income, the huge investment to build the tanks like we see on YouTube. I just can't do it. So I run low tech, low light, low cost aquariums. So this is the bow front tank, and it is very dark inside, but with our handy dandy flashlight, you'll see that we have spike rush in here. some Java moss down there at the bottom, tons of duckweed, quite a few fish in here, and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of bladder snail eggs. Yes, and quite a few adults as well. And I think that's so cool. I built this tank for like 30 bucks. That's it. I didn't have $300 to sink into a nice project, so I went with what I did have and what I could do. We built a natural ecosystem. And again, for a young hobbyist, that is a good way to go. I could just turn the pump off on this aquarium. I could walk away, maybe scoop up some of the duckweed, but this tank would run by itself for quite a long time. My fish will become predators once again. They will feed on the bladder snails if they have to. And though that sounds bad, it's actually not as bad as you might think. In some ways, it can actually benefit the bladder snails, and we'll talk about that near the end of the video. But these guys are so durable. Once you get bladder snails, you have bladder snails. And they can be with you for your entire life. And that's so cool to me, These snails that you see right here are direct descendants of the original bladder snails that I found 5 or 6 years ago. And that's amazing. That's so cool to me. They're going to be with us forever. And the more that we encourage them to breed, the more that they thrive, the better I feel as their keeper. You know what I mean? Like, how many pets can you really do that with? Like, you can just push their numbers, and I want to see how many bladder snails we can raise, and just to keep them going and doing even better every generation. And I've seen that our bladder snails have gotten a little faster, a little stronger, a little larger sometimes, but they're so durable, and they require very little care. A piece of cucumber, little fish food flakes. You could have a planted tank, but it's not necessary. They can run in just a jar of water. And that's all it really takes to have a thriving bladder snail population. And no, they will not eat your plants. This is a myth. They will not eat live plants. This tank is full of plants. And the snails have no interest. Hundreds of snails in here, easily. The duckweed is fine. And the snails continue to thrive. And it just makes me so happy. Now, you might say, oh, these snails, they're not fun to watch. I'd rather watch a fish swim around. And maybe that's true. But if you really watch these guys, they glide pretty quickly across the glass. They move pretty fast. And they're just interesting. I love to watch them up close. And sometimes you'll see really intriguing behaviors when they all follow each other in a straight line, or when they just randomly sink or randomly float throughout the aquarium. They can do all these things at will. And I think that's so cool. So yes, they are fun to watch. They're fun to investigate and to study. And they're really, really fun to just have. If you love snails, if you're willing to give an insect or a mollusk or a crustacean a chance as a pet, definitely try bladder snails, you guys. Now here at Bucket Ponds, I've created what I call the bladder snail breeding program. And that means that we've taken bladder snails from different hobbyists, from different states, and isolated populations and brought them all together. Now, this is the notorious Phycella acuta bladder snail, and since they are the same species, they will happily reproduce. But these snails have a response when they detect a foreign bladder snail. They immediately want to breed with that particular snail. I don't know how they detect this, how they know, but it is a documented scientific effect, and it's called outbreeding in the agriculture industry, I guess. But yes, it's called outbreeding, and it encourages them to breed more often. It also improves their genetic health, their biodiversity, their genetic diversity. It makes them want to reproduce more, increase their lifespan and their immune system, their immune health. It just boosts them up all the way around. The future generations will just get stronger and stronger. And we also have studied what I call predator cues. And this means that bladder snails, when exposed to predators like our mosquito fish or crayfish, they will begin to change their bodies a bit. They will harden their shells. They will grow little ridges on the shells. And they will begin to breed even more often. Now, these snails are known for breeding like crazy anyway. So when you increase this behavior, it becomes so interesting and amazing to me. I want to see how many thousands of bladder snails we can get, and how thick I can get their population. I want to get to the point where I'm afraid that if I fall in this tank, they will slowly eat me. But when you have pets like this that grow up so quickly, that reproduce so often, it becomes kind of fun and interesting to study each snail and look for differences. I've seen rumors of albino bladder snails on the internet that I can never confirm. The pictures are always off somehow. But one day maybe we'll get to that point. Or, I've seen a couple giant bladder snails in my own ponds outdoors, and I'm still studying that, trying to figure out what happened there and maybe isolating that population. I've even toyed around with the idea of exposing them to a large amount of mutagen X, which is a mutagenic compound that sounds like something out of a comic book, but it's actually in your drinking water. So, yeah, it's pretty readily accessible. But I have all these different ideas, and I think it's really cool that bladder snails can inspire this. They can inspire a love of nature without the hundreds of dollars of investment or all of the hours of water changes and work and work and work, maintenance and all that stuff. So I definitely suggest bladder snails for any young hobbyist. Just get them into it. You don't have to have vast numbers like this. You can have a handful and have a lot of fun. So thank you if you made it this far into the video. Please like, subscribe, and drop a comment. I try to answer everybody, and join the community, guys. I've been loving bucket ponds lately, and I hope that you have too. So big thank you to our patrons, Swansea, Clay Wise, Jeff Kiesner, and Jay. If you'd like to join them and get a shout out in the videos, please check out the Patreon linked in the description. But thank you guys. You can donate anything you want, even $1 helps, and I'll see you again soon.